Hello, 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 hello. Yes, it's New Year's Eve 2013. Welcome to the Archaeosoup annual roundup of the year. And this year has been even better, even more exciting, even more interesting than last year. So it's a really good opportunity to look back at what we've done with Archaeosoup, look back at our favourite news stories from the year, and also look tentatively forward and maybe just sort of talk a little bit about upcoming plans. Now actually this year, in terms of the news stories, there have been 47 Archaeosoup videos. That's almost one a week. Obviously I've had a couple of weeks away on holiday or just been unable to film. But nonetheless, hopefully I've been able to provide you with a useful news archaeology sort of service in that sense. So we've got plenty to look back on. But first of all, what we need to do is celebrate the ending of the year. And as always at Archaeosoup Towers, that involves the blowing of bubbles. So I've got my bubble vial here, and let's just give that a bit of a blow, shall we? Superb. Very, very good. Wonderful. Well, the bubbles have been blown. It is now officially begun. I'll look back at 2013 and I suppose a celebration of a really interesting and rather big year for Archaeosoup. Before we look at the news stories, it's worthwhile just going over some of the key things actually that we've achieved this year. First of all, I suppose one of the most exciting things that we got involved with was the Lindisfarne Gospels exhibition here in the northeast of England. Durham University and Durham University Library, along with the British Library, were able to bring the Gospels up to the northeast to sit in Palace Green Library in Durham. And it was really an honour to be involved in making a short video linked with that exhibition, but also actually to be involved in the festivities surrounding it. Archaeosoup provided a couple of days actually worth of workshops and associated activities, really helping to bring the process, I suppose, of archaeology, but also the importance of the Lindisfarne Gospels and I suppose the Saxon world, the Saxon kingdom of Northumbria, to people who were just waiting to see the book and the exhibition on the green. So that was a real pleasure, actually, a real highlight of the year for us here at Archaeosoup Towers. Associated with that, I produced the Cow to Quill workshop, where we looked at essentially how the Lindisfarne Gospels were made. Everything from the cow, or the cows rather, for making the vellum, all the way through to actually writing this document. And also, again, as I say, the cultural context and the importance for the English language, if nothing else, and the trade connections, so on and so forth, reflected from those Gospels. So delivering that workshop in various locations around the region, again, was a real pleasure this year. On Father's Day, the National Museum or National Centre, for children's books, invited Archaeosoup to provide a sort of a Viking workshop, a Viking day, where fathers and children, their sons and daughters, could come in and learn about Vikings. This was actually in conjunction with their How to Train Your Dragon exhibition, and it was really actually quite good fun. Having that sort of context of the dragon sort of element, but also bringing some I suppose some of the reality of the period as well into it, and just having those two things mingle in the same building. It was again, it was a real pleasure. And it's always nice to visit Seven Stories. It's a wonderful place. I do recommend you go there. Now, actually, also as well, this year saw Archaeosoup travelling much further afield than we ever have done before to deliver workshops. I suppose one of the highlights was delivering, again, it's been a big year for Saxon and Viking type stuff, but one of them was delivering a Saxon workshop in Tamworth, the old, I suppose, one of the capitals of the Saxon world in England. We travelled down there. It was quite a long journey. But it was really good fun talking to people in Tamworth about the exciting that exciting period of history when Tamworth was a major city, much more important. Not a major city, sorry, but major town, much more important than even Birmingham is today, for example. So that was again really great, and it's a real pleasure actually to have that, to be able to actually to have people asking you to come and deliver a workshop in a place where you've never been before. So it's really nice actually to travel and see a bit of the world, the Midlands and all that kind of thing. Really good. This year, once again, Archaeosoup was involved with the Wallsend Festival. This year, though, it was 2 days rather than 1 day. On the first day, again, linked to the Lindisfarne Gospels exhibition, we were doing the Gospels sort of activity day, so people could get involved trying to write their own page and also learn a little bit about Lindisfarne Gospels. And on the second day, me and a wonderful friend of mine essentially did a bit of I suppose a Saxon encampment. We sort of sat around talking about Saxon life in what was actually the Saxon village of Wallsend, just over there. So that was really good fun actually, and we got to meet lots of people, again talking to local people about their local heritage, about that sort of post-Roman world which is often overlooked in the northeast. And also it was a real pleasure because I actually managed to invite a friend of mine up from York, a guy called Neil, to do some combative sort of demonstrations. He's very popular actually. He and his colleague were fighting in this sort of ring, Northern Forge. That's his company. But it was a real pleasure again just to catch up with him as well. So the Wallsend Festival was, as always, great fun. This summer also, again with this sort of Lindisfarne Gospels theme, saw me going to the Beacon Centre in North Shields and spending a week there during the summer. Again, talking about Lindisfarne Gospels, talking about Saxons and Vikings, talking about language, about the northeast of England, and really bringing home some of that to people as they pass through with their daily shop. It was also a good distraction for bored children who just, I don't want to go shopping. Whereas having the opportunity to muck about with sword shields and maybe learn something was a good change of pace for them. This year also actually saw me working with the Bowes Museum in County Durham. The Bowes Museum is actually a regional centre for archaeological finds, stuff which is located in the area or dug up, sort of artefacts and information is transferred to an archive at the Bowes Museum. So it was great to be invited there, a real honour actually, because it's a wonderful building, and the team are a real pleasure to work with, the people who work there. So actually what we ended up doing was sort of a what is archaeology kind of series of sessions really, and hopefully next year we'll be looking at the broader elements of their archaeological collection, because with the changes in the national curriculum there's a lot more to do with prehistory, and it was really interesting actually talking to them about just how exciting their new exhibits can be, and actually inspiring them in some way. So hopefully we'll be working together next year. This year also saw me going to Newcastle Cathedral and Newcastle Library, two different spots in the heart of Newcastle city centre, and again talking about the Lindisfarne Gospels, but it was a real opportunity again just to meet people, to talk to people about the past, to enthuse people about this relatively little known period in the Northeast history, and again looking forward to next year. We're going to be doing work together on World War I stuff, or examining the history and the connections, for example, of the Newcastle Cathedral Church with other communities, even for example in Denmark. So there's lots of opportunities there, and but also more importantly than that, it was just so much fun just chatting to people, talking to people, meeting them, and seeing people go away going, yes, I have learned something new. So, and that's precisely why I enjoy doing Archaeosoup, actually, why I just love doing what I do, talking to people. There was also a rather interesting Britition Museum project that came Archaeosoup's way this year, and that was the Talking Objects. Now, Talking Objects is an attempt to get people engaging with artifacts in their local museums by getting them to explore them in unconventional ways, usually with an artistic response. And when it came to the Segedunum Museum, the fort at the end of the wall, we decided to look at a shrine of Mercury, a little pocket-sized shrine, and the group sort of responded to that by sort of talking about portable and personal, the idea that shrines are a little bit like smartphones. You keep things that are important to you on them, memories, photographs, this kind of thing, and also it's portable. So we sort of linked those two concepts together, and out of that came a rather interesting little project, which apparently was very well received down at the British Museum. So it was a real pleasure again to be working with people far afield on projects which make a real difference to local people and to people's understanding of their immediate history and the history around them in their immediacy as well. And also finally as well, a slightly surprising element which has come out of this year, but nonetheless more than welcome, has been the partnership that I've been developing with English Heritage, actually, the education officer for the region, and by extension actually I had a couple of chats with people down in York, has been really excited to be working with Archaeosoup on new projects, on new ways of talking about the past, new ways of exploring archaeology and its relationship to history. Of course, linking that in with local English heritage properties and projects, but also as well actually teacher training, a so-called CPD, continuing professional development. This has been a really good opportunity to try and enthuse teachers about what's coming in the next 2 years, or certainly the next 18 months, with regards to the national curriculum, talking about the opportunities for which archaeology offers for studying all periods of history, but also especially prehistory, because prehistory you can only really study via archaeology. And so with English Heritage, Archaeosoup has been working actually quite closely on how to go about shifting perception on this period, make it an opportunity, not make it something scary, especially for teachers and students and pupils when they come to tackle some of these issues in the coming school year. But as I said, that it sort of came out of nowhere, but it's come out of the fact that basically, apparently, it seems that Archaeosoup is doing good work. So I've been noticed and I was approached. So that was really lovely. And again, something which this time last year I could not possibly have foreseen. So there we have it. There we have a sort of a summary of things which have happened this year for Archaeosoup. And now what we're going to do is look at our favourite news stories from throughout the year. It's been a really exciting year for Archaeosoup, but also we've been really interested and excited by various news stories in the different months of the year, and that's how we're going to do it. We're going to look at one story from each month, January to December. But unfortunately, Jindiana Bones cannot make this year's video. He's actually still celebrating with the Bones clan, but he was able to send in this short video message.
Hello there, Jindiana Bones here. Now, we've had a fair few festive days here at the Bones Hunting Lodge. Sadly this year I couldn't stay at Archaeosoup Towers for the festive season, but I'm happy to say that I'm having a wonderful time. That said though, well, I'm having to be rather quiet because some of my relatives are a little worse for wear, if you know what I mean. Anyway, hopefully you've had a wonderful Christmas. Hopefully Santa brought what you wanted in that old stocking of yours. And, well, have a lovely, lovely new year. Whether it's New Year already where you are, or whether it's yet to be New Year, do have a wonderful time. And here's to 2014, or 2014, I suppose, depending on your preference.
Where's my little Jin?
What? Yes, okay, Aunt Petunia. Got to go. Until next time, folks, as always, cheers.
Indeed, cheers, Jindiana Bones. Thank you, as always, for appearing on Archaeosoup videos, and we look forward to seeing your next Tipples video in the new year. Now, let me kick things off by starting with January and a news story which has to do with Roman shoe chic. As always, links to these stories can be found in the video information. Our first news story comes from the 7th of January with the news that Roman children showed off their status with shoes, much like today. The 4th of February for many will be the highlight of the archaeological year, This brought the news that Richard III had indeed been found by a team from the University of Leicester. The ramifications of this exciting news are still being felt. The lead archaeologist, Richard Buckley, has been nominated for Current Archaeology's Archaeologist of the Year award. Unfortunately, the 28th of March saw far more sobering news, with the announcement that archaeological funding was to be cut in the very region where Neanderthals were first discovered. You may recall that last year saw a slight furore surrounding the use of the word Hobbit in headlines, but the 17th of April saw the BBC using the word with pride when talking about a new dwarfism theory linked with the diminutive hominins. Before I was born in 1982, the wreck of the Mary Rose was raised from the English Channel. The 30th of May finally saw the Mary Rose Museum open in Portsmouth. Now, for the headline that we've chosen from June, I'm actually going to hand over to Rhys Booth in Australia for a sort of a live satellite link-up.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, you're coming in clear.
Oh, you've got me. Okay. Well, I suppose my video for this year, for 2013, is based upon a heartfelt story that I thought should really come up at some stage in the 2013 Reel Up, and that story is the death of Mick Aston. Now, I know it's not the light-hearted story that some people may have wanted, but I do truly believe that this story had a meaningful effect on a lot of people in the archaeological community, purely based on that Mick was the face of archaeology, was the face of public archaeology. He inspired a lot of young people, including yours truly, for a long time. So I suppose I'd really like to see Mick Aston be celebrated for the public archaeological work that he's done, and that is my favourite story for the year, with many more to come, hopefully. Back to you in the studio, Mr. Soup.
So thank you so much for that, Rhys. And actually you've highlighted a really important news story for me and actually for many archaeologists this year. The death of Mick Aston is a loss to us all, but also it's an opportunity to remember the work of a truly great and very public archaeologist. So thank you for that. Now on to July. Our news story from July actually has to do with a find from here in Wallsend, and that is a 200-year-old wooden railway. On the 26th of July it was announced that archaeologists digging on the site of the former Neptune shipyard close to Wallsend had discovered a 200-year-old wooden railway. This is the earliest surviving example of a standard gauge railway in the world. The 28th of August brought news which I found particularly interesting. This was evidence of early human presence in the Bolivian Amazon as early as 10,000 years ago, far earlier than previously imagined. The 17th of September saw news which may be a curious upside to climate change. That is the discovery of the remains of an Iron Age horse found in a melting glacier. Many similar discoveries have been made in recent months. So now, for October's news story, we hand over to Helga, the head of all wisdom. I think she's rather suited to this particular story.
Hello, Helga the head here. Now, Mr. Soup probably thinks he's right funny giving me this news story to share with you, as it has to do with a disembodied head. Now, here's rather droll humour to one side. This story, as it happens, is quite interesting. Archaeologists in Chichester used 3D scanning techniques to identify that this head might have come from a statue of the Emperor Nero. Anyway, back to you, Mr. Soup, you cheeky so-and-so.
Thank you to Helga the Head, the inimitable Helga, for that. I don't know what she's getting at. I just thought she was the obvious choice to head up that particular article. Anyway, our next news story from November is to do with the always newsworthy, for better or worse, Zahi Hawass. Early in November it came to our attention that US prosecutors had opened a criminal investigation of the National Geographic Society. This was with regards to potential corrupt payments to Egypt's self-proclaimed real Indiana Jones. This was a surprise to some, but not to all. And finally, the 18th of December saw news from China that armour, apparently made from stone plates and bronze wire, had been recovered from close to the mausoleum of China's first great Qin Emperor.
So, there we have it. That's Archaeosoup's, I suppose, news roundup from this year. Hopefully you've found this to be a useful and interesting, I suppose, journey through the different months of the year. And it's been really good actually looking back at those news stories, because some of them I actually thought happened much further back. It's remarkable how long a year can be in some ways, and also how short it can be. But nonetheless, it's been a real pleasure looking back, and also, I suppose, remembering the wonderful things that we've had an opportunity to do this year. It's worthwhile, though, just taking a moment just to look briefly forward and just talk a little bit about the fact that 2014 should be even more interesting, even more exciting for Archaeosoup and also for you guys. With things on the horizon such as, for example, the World War I centenary, there's a real opportunity there to bring new perspectives on the First World War to the public, to talk about, for example, the little known home front, or to talk about battlefields beyond Europe. Of course, talking about the battlefields and the Western Front is crucial, but in particular what we're hoping to do starting in January, but probably delivering sort of in the summer, is work on with local schools on things such as, for example, there's a local school where it was used as a barracks in the First World War, to overlook the River Tyne in case a boat came up, and there was a man with a machine gun stationed in the attic, and they actually found the machine gun last year. So, and they also know they have someone's papers in a diary from one of the people who stayed in the school when it was a barracks. So there's really good opportunities to look at local stories and also look at I suppose civilian real life stories, which will add the context to the horror of the Western Front, for example, but also stories such as the Battle of Beersheba, the conflict, how it's affected people, for example, in Africa and different parts of Europe, and so on and so forth. I suppose making it into less of a black and white scenario, making it into a much more real period of history. I'm really looking forward to tackling those issues in the coming year. Very soon, actually, in a couple of days' time, on the 3rd of January, we'll be starting a short filming project with Newcastle University, which may well be the first of a few different projects, but we'll see. But nonetheless, that's going to be with regards to World War I, and actually the study of monuments, memorials, and how schools can get involved with that. So it's a real pleasure to be able to work with Newcastle University on that. And as I say, we're going to be filming on the 3rd of January, so yeah, hours away. And also there's various exciting plans and projects on the horizon in the very near future. For example, we hope in the next couple of months to film the next series of Archaeology Gastronomy. There's also other projects with other museums and other history and heritage, and also charitable organisations that I've been talking to. But those, I think, I'll leave to announce as and when they become more solid. I suppose what I'm saying is, this year has been, and I actually checked this morning, this year has actually been twice as busy for Archaeosoup as last year was. And who knows, next year may well be twice as busy again. But I'm so pleased to have the opportunity to expand what I talk about and how we talk and how we share this information, because this is important, and sharing our history with the people whose history it is, it really gives me such a buoyancy and such pleasure, and I just hope I can continue to do it long into the future. Anyway, as I say, that's enough from me. We've had a wonderful roundup of the year, and now all that remains is to celebrate the passing of the year. So wherever you are in the world, if it's 2014 already, or if it's yet to be 2014, have a wonderful, wonderful night, and here's to a wonderful year to come. As always, do take care, and bye-bye.